Hey everybody, it's Austin Petersen. Sorry we've been having a lot of trouble with our live streams tonight. We're here at a Bernie Sanders rally. I'm here with my buddy Kevin.
How you doing?
Hey Kevin, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming on. Can you see yourself in the video there, monitor?
Yeah,
Try and stay in the monitor, and we're gonna talk to each other. Whoa, a little bit
I just
closer.
want to get all of me in there because I can't wait.
Exactly. All right. So we're gonna be talking about Bernie Sanders here for Bernie Sanders rally. Why do you like Bernie Sanders?
I like Bernie Sanders because I think he speaks for people who aren't rich.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, like, don't you want to be a rich guy someday?
No, I want everything for everybody. I want to have, the things that rich people have access to, I want everybody else to have access to.
Okay, so what do you think of when you hear the word capitalism?
I think capitalism, it depends on what kind of capitalism it is. There's multiple definitions of capitalism. Capitalism is a very generic term. I mean, what type of capitalism are you talking about?
Free market capitalism?
Free market capitalism. You mean the capitalism that allows the rich to dictate everything to everybody?
Isn't that what government does?
No, it doesn't really, because government is ran by capitalism, and apparently the capitalism we have now allows the rich to buy our politicians that can affect our policy and in turn trickle down to people like you and me.
What do you think about when you hear the word socialism?
Socialism has a lot of definitions too. Socialism is a very generic term.
The technical definition is central planning. Central planning, central ownership of the means of production. So what happens is that government owns the means of production for, for example, healthcare, or the construction of airplanes, or what's another example? Like there used to be a monopoly on the phone services, for example. So what do you think of when you hear socialism?
I think socialism levels the playing field so people can have health care. And so the politicians who aren't bought and paid for by the rich can have health care also.
So do you think it's possible for absolutely everyone to have health care? Every single person?
Yes, and why wouldn't you think that they should use health care?
Well, because economics is defined as the study of scarce resources, how to allocate scarce resources, because there's always a never-ending supply of wants, but there's not a never-ending supply of supply, right?
Sure, I understand that. Yeah.
So you do think it's possible for absolutely everyone to get health care? I mean, that would mean...
So let me ask you a question. Everybody has access to roads. Everybody has access to bridges.
The roads! He said the roads, guys. He said roads. He said more roads.
More roads?
Yeah.
No, I said roads. And I said bridges, and I said everybody has access to a lot of different things. Why would you want to deny access for health care for somebody who can't afford it? They've been working on their lives, they have Social Security. Why would somebody want to deny health care for somebody who has paid their dues and been through the system? Why would you want to deny that? Do you just want to let them go through life and suffer?
No, I actually, if I had to be completely honest with you, intellectually honest with you, I think that what happens is that in a market system, the competition creates more of a supply. And so if you have a free market in healthcare, what happens is that doctors can make a profit, so there's an incentive for more doctors to go into the system, which therefore lowers the cost.
What about the farmer bro who raised from... What about the farm bro who raised it from like $7 a pill to $70 a pill?
That's a great question. You're talking about Martin Shkreli. And actually, what's funny is that when he did that, the market worked, and a company stepped in because they saw there was a chance for profit. And so somebody came in and started selling the pill for $1. And Martin Shkreli actually lost his shirt on that, and now he's in prison for fraud.
But why is he in prison for fraud?
Well, because he defrauded investors.
And so that was a bad thing.
Well, defrauding Wall Street investors is always going to get you arrested. But yeah.
So what if those people didn't step in and people had to pay that money for that pill and
Great
survive?
question. Great question, and that's a really good one that we should talk about. What would have happened is exactly what did happen is another company steps in and start seeing an opportunity to make money, so that they say, oh, if he's going to charge that much, I'm going to undercut him, and I'm going to start selling this product for 3/4 less. But here's the thing: even if he was almost done, even if he was allowed to sell that product,
let's just
if he was allowed, we can talk to you next. We'll have you next.
I am up next. I would love to go in the ring with you.
So sure. So what we want to say is that if he was allowed to do that, he would actually be able to use that money to invest in purchasing more supplies.
You are depending on a system of investment rather than having to say somebody who has to pay $70 a pill. I mean, depending on the roundabout way rather than saying somebody who has to pay $2 a pill. Sorry, it's
no worries. Yeah, it's all right.
If I have $70 and I need to spend $2 on a pill and the rest $68 on something else, why would I need why?
So what happens is when you charge.
Why would I?
The reason why you charge so much is so that you can use that money to go and invest in creating.
And that's going to come
drugs.
around? How do you know it's going to come around? Because I've heard from Reagan that was going to trickle down into pockets of normal people like you and I, and it hasn't. Where's it at? Where's that at? And why is it all stuck at the top? Why does
where does Bernie get it from?
What do you mean, where does Bernie get it?
So if you're going to, basically what you're talking about is appropriating healthcare or appropriating perhaps some pharmaceuticals, right? So you're going to take it from the rich guy. Bernie has to take it from somebody, right? But I mean, you've already said you're kind of okay with squeezing the rich, right?
I'm not okay with squeezing the rich. I'm okay with making the rich pay what they need to pay. I'm not okay with everything floating to the top. When Reagan was president, he sold that everything was going to go from the top to the bottom. But in actuality, it has gone from the bottom to the top.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you very much, and Happy New Year. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to grab that microphone off your chest. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Have a good one.
I appreciate it.
Well, guys, that's what we got so far. I hope you guys are enjoying the live stream. We've got some really poor reception here, so I'm sorry it's been skipping. We've got another guest. Hello, Joe. Hello, sir. Come on over. Oh, you definitely got to hold up your sign. Hi. What's your name?
Mahmoud Hassan Chaudhry.
Mahmoud? Can I call you Mahmoud?
Call me Hassan.
Hassan. All right, I'm going to clip this to your jacket, Hassan, and come over here for me. So what you want to do is you want to be able to be seen by the camera right there. Yeah. Hassan, say hello to everybody. We got 268. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Hassan, so why are you here? Why do you like Bernie?
I'm a Bernie volunteer, and I've been coming up to Iowa to help us win Iowa because we think Bernie is so important. And I'm from Springfield, Missouri, and we've been doing weekend door-to-door and phone banking because we know and think Bernie needs to win and is going to win. And Bernie's got the right healthcare system, which will be 50% cheaper than the current healthcare system, which is messed up. And I'm a physician that worked in rural health for about 21 years. After my training for 5 years, I trained in Kansas City for 5 years, and then practiced in rural Kansas and Missouri for the last 21 years. Then I worked in federal government for 19 years, and now I'm volunteering privately. Nothing to do with federal government.
Okay.
And we believe that Bernie should be able to deliver what he proposes.
What do you think about the way Bernie Sanders is sort of kind of covered for Hillary Clinton in the past? I mean, he's her opponent, but he's kind of covered for her in the email scandals and.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with that. I'll just talk about healthcare, because in healthcare, Bernie is saying the single payer. So you take out all the profit motive and take out all the overhead, and you're down to 3% overhead, and it'll be 50% cost saving. More or less,
Would you be in favor of getting rid of all profits?
Get rid of all the profits, because healthcare is like education, fire department, and police and highway department. There should be very little or none profit motive there.
So you think
deliver healthcare?
Doctors should be incentivized not by profit, but they should be incentivized by charity?
No, doctors are like teachers and preachers, and
so you want their salaries to go down. You want the person.
Doctors should not have to have a huge profit.
Like a brain surgeon? You don't think a brain surgeon deserves to make $250,000 a year for?
No, nobody should have to make a tremendous profit on healthcare. They should have a good, decent living. And like a scientist that works for NASA or scientists that work for the government, they should work for the government and make a living. And private healthcare can be separate and unrelated to the government's obligation.
Okay, so let me throw something out at you in terms of healthcare. Now, eye surgery is a very popular exam that goes on right now, and that's actually not covered by health insurance, right? It's an elective procedure.
Yes.
So in order to get eye surgery, you have to pay for that out of pocket. And what we've seen with eye surgery is that the cost of eye surgery over time has gone down, and the quality has gone up, and that's operated in the free market. So how come you don't think that that should operate the same way in every other type of procedure?
I'm not familiar with the eye surgery specifics, but eye surgery is essential. And so if they need it, if the patient needs the eye health care, they ought to get it. But there shouldn't be any huge profit margin there. It should be reasonable. And, if that's reasonable in Europe, we're comparable to Europe, Canada, then we shouldn't be a whole lot different than Europe, Canada, or Australia. New Zealand is be comparable.
Okay, so but here's the thing: wouldn't you want to have diversity? Why wouldn't you want to have the United States be different and then have competition?
The United States #1 in the world in most everything, but in healthcare we're really not that great. We're kind of like behind the top 20. So we want to be as good as anybody else, no less, no worse than most of the top 20 countries.
What do you think of when you hear the word socialism?
Socialism is a misnomer. Social Security is absolutely appreciated by people. Medicare
Social Security isn't socialism. Social Security
has nothing to do with socialism. It's really servicing the people.
It's more like a Ponzi scheme, right? So
that's just what people want to do to make you get scared of socialism. As socialism is, the WPA and all of those things that happened back in the old time. People remember those. Yeah. Those things created great value to the people. They created public, the park systems, highway system. President Eisenhower created the highway system, and we're not regretting that.
So what is socialism?
I have no clue. I'm just saying we need to do the right thing for our people, take care of the people in the countryside and in the inner city. And I think public health service, U.S. public health service is one of the best service there is. And they go out and help in Haiti and Ebola crisis in Liberia and Guinea and all those countries. Well, they can do a good job in the U.S.
What do you think?
That's who we need to deploy them for the inner city.
Just let me interrupt.
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
I got to keep it going. What do you think of when you hear the word libertarian?
I have no idea, but I like libertarian ideas where less government is better. But on the healthcare and education and highway system, I don't think libertarians have a problem with that. If government takes care of essential services, I don't know about libertarianism, but I respect them because they want government to stay away your private life.
That's correct. Libertarians tend to be fiscally conservative, but socially tolerant, socially liberal.
I respect them. They're great people.
So let me ask you.
I even respect most of them.
Okay, so then, all right, so maybe we could be friends. Let me ask you a question.
Are you a libertarian?
I'm the libertarian candidate for president of the United States.
You are? Good to meet you, sir.
All right, so here's the thing.
I've heard of Senator from Kentucky.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a favor. If Bernie doesn't win, will you do...
Bernie wins.
If he doesn't, will you look into the libertarian candidates?
Oh, we appreciate libertarians. And Bernie's going to win because we've been doing door-to-door and phone banking, and Bernie's winning by big time.
Right.
And the big shots don't have any clue.
Thank you, Hassan. I'm going to get your microphone.
I appreciate
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
You're a good man.
Thank
I appreciate
you,
it.
Have a good one.
You should be a president one of these
We'll
days.
see. Hope
After
so.
Bernie.
That's right.
Next,
After Bernie.
this is the guy I recommend.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's New Year's. Do me a favor, guys. Send us $3 to the campaign to take over the government and leave everyone alone. Go to AustinPetersen2016.com tonight. Okay, yep, hold on one second. Can I come on in? We're going to wait for that connection.
Okay.
Step forward a little bit for me. There we go. Perfect. A little bit closer. Awesome. So
Okay.
yeah, so what we want to do is we're going to wait until that connection pops back
Okay.
in. You'll say that it's recording. You'll see, and then you're going to introduce yourself, and we're just going to talk
Okay.
about politics and economics.
Cool.
What's your name?
Rob.
Rob.
Actually.
Okay, Rob.
I'm
Are
gonna
you,
grab one. Would you like one?
No, thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
it. Go ahead. Give us that'll probably pick up here in about 10 seconds. We'll see. So this is actually a live stream. You can see people
Yeah.
chatting. Okay, here we are. All right, Rob.
Hello,
All right,
I'm Rob.
hey,
Nice to
good
meet
see
you.
guys.
Pleasure.
Are you a Bernie volunteer? Or?
No, I'm actually a Bernie supporter, so I came out to actually do some painting here to help support him. So.
Is this your beautiful
Yeah.
Bernie painting? Very
Yes,
cool.
did some live painting.
So tell me, why do you like Bernie?
I was a supporter of Elizabeth Warren. I really wanted her to jump in the race. When that didn't happen, the first thing that really got me with Bernie was he was the only candidate talking about infrastructure, and that's my number one concern.
What are the three branches of government?
The executive, legislative, and judicial.
Okay, that was just a test. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what do you think of when you hear the word socialism?
Socialism, I think about how horrible people have been misled by dragging that term through, how judgmental people have been trained to be.
What does socialism mean to you?
Socialism, to me, means being a little bit more society-focused and less individualized focused. So it's about having a little bit more care for human beings, and I'm not even politicizing that word right now. I think that's been politicized and been used as a tool by a lot of people and make it become a bad word. But if you think about society, it's, socialism, society isn't the word. It means taking care of other human beings.
What does capitalism mean to you?
Capitalism means being, entrepreneur, getting out and, fighting to make yourself a success in whatever business you're doing.
What are the issues that that resonate with you that you like Bernie on?
Infrastructure.
Just infrastructure?
That's actually about 90% of why I'm supporting Bernie Sanders, because he is the only
roads,
one.
the roads.
No, on the roads, the dams. You know that there's, 7 people that go around and check levees and dams in Alabama, but there's thousands of levees and dams, and we know what can happen with, look at what's going on in Missouri right now. So, infrastructure beyond all the societal and social pressure points that politicians like to push. Nobody's really talked about infrastructure except for Bernie. He came out strong with infrastructure. That was his number one thing he pushed. And then he got pulled into a lot of other social issues by lots of people. But infrastructure is my number one issue.
Is there anything?
Power grid. Oh, wow. Let's wait until our power goes out. Then we'll have some really serious problems.
Is there anything that you think that government should not do? Anything that the government should not be involved?
Give me an example, because I don't think
Marriage.
that. Stay out of my bedroom.
So would you be in favor of a separation of marriage and state?
Well, I believe in separation of church and state. So if you believe that marriage is church related, there's so many more legal concerns to that. My mother right now is very religious, and she is dating a man friend who is also very religious, because both of them are very conservative, very religious, but they both love Bernie, which is pretty funny. But being very religiously conservative and being brought up a certain way, it doesn't benefit them to get married. They're both widowers right now. So it doesn't benefit them at their age financially, and that's not a church thing. That is a legal thing. That's a state thing. If you didn't want to actually honor any marriages on a federal level or state level, that's fine. Let's just have domestic partnerships. You don't have to call it marriage. I think that this is one of those ruses that people like to use terms to confuse uneducated voters and get them away from actual core concerns. Because whether or not they're married or they're domestic partnership, you're picking up after people. You're sharing, you're sharing tasks, duties, doing laundry, all that stuff.
Okay, I want to change the subject. Talk about taxes.
Taxes.
Bernie Sanders has proposed a 90% tax rate. Would you be comfortable with paying 90% of your?
Where did he propose that? Because I don't think that's correct.
Okay, so he has proposed a 9% tax rate.
Where? Tell me specifically where that is, because I don't remember
so it's in his own words.
that.
You'd have to take my word for it. Unfortunately, I don't have it to verify.
Okay.
But would you be comfortable with that kind of a tax rate?
here's the thing, is some of the times, I know there's a lot of other societal things going on, but if you look at where Roosevelt rose the war tax after World War II, some of the greatest moments of what people would consider being American, like prosperity came after that time. And I know that there were all sorts of things with communism and other countries going on, different world scenarios, but during that time, we were able to carry so much prosperity for such a long time based on those increased levels until got into the 70s and 80s, and then they started dropping a little bit, and the Reagan came along, dropped in, and the Bush tax cuts got dropped. And I really do think that a lot of the stagnancy that you see in wage growth is because of the lack of, it's not matching with productivity. If you also look at this, I think that who was it? Who does all the stats? One of the stats places, I can't think of it right now.
Rasmussen.
No, something like that. But they did a study of workforce engagement. And workforce engagement, this was from 3 years ago, was at 62%. So 62% of people are disengaged in their workforce. Okay. Oh, sorry. They're disengaged in their jobs. Part of that is because of lack of, knowing what their jobs are. I think a lot of that is because people are being treated more like numbers. They're being treated like employees, not like people. What's wrong with actually recognizing somebody's talent and actually, because I work for an excellent company now, I love my company because they recognize hard work that I put in. I think that, and getting back to capitalism, I think there are some really excellent companies out there that are very successful, and I want them to continue being successful, but tax rate is not going to affect their success. Management, mismanagement, and how they treat their employees is how they're,
I want to hop in there. What do you think of when you hear the word libertarian?
Libertarian, so Rand Paul, okay? Sometimes I watch Rand Paul and I read him because I have a lot of libertarian friends, and I watch some things and I'm like, oh, I kind of like what he's saying. I kind of like this. I kind of get along with this. But then just certain things come out and I'm like, no, I can't get on board with that.
Like what?
So some of the things, earlier I heard your whole argument with doctors, and I think that's hogwash.
What's hogwash?
Okay, well, refresh your argument that you were making with the other gentleman about doctors and their pay and all this.
Okay, so if you look at eye surgery, for example, eye surgery is an elective procedure. It's not covered by health insurance. And eye surgery used to be very expensive, prohibitively expensive, around $5,000 an eye to get it done. And the quality wasn't that great. Sometimes people would their eyes would revert. But now, because there's competition, there's a marketplace for eye surgery, the cost has come down and the quality of eye surgery has come up.
Okay. So that's not quite what I remember you talking about that I wanted to reference. I'm sorry. But as far as free market, so I can either talk about free market now, or we could talk about more about the doctors. Which would you prefer?
Well, it's the same. I mean,
it's different. So I'll split. Here's how it's different. I'll split it up. So the free market. Here's the problem with the free market is that people will not make moral decisions, and you can see this throughout history. How did Hitler get all these awesome good people to actually do horrible, atrocious things? And actually, my family are survivors from the Holocaust. So, I do a lot of reading into World War II.
The free market caused Hitler to.
Well,
I'm trying to get the connection.
Okay, the connection is that if you don't have some kind of societal, somebody telling people what they can do. Okay.
Somebody to tell people what to do?
No. Don't spin that around with me.
Well, that's what you said.
Okay. Give me a second.
Okay.
So, if you don't have some kind of moral guidance, okay, and that's not telling people what to do. That means about being more social and understanding what people's names are. And if you really look at, have you read Outliers? Okay, it's an excellent book to read. Outliers. Remember reading it. But certain cultures are a little bit more society focused, whereas in the U.S. we're very individual focused. A lot of people don't really give a damn about what happens to other people as long as it's not happening in my backyard.
Right.
Okay? And that's the problem with the free market, is that the free market what's it mean to me? What's it mean to my profit? What's it mean to my job? If I'm causing pollution, I don't care about that family down the road if they're getting run out of their home. Look at what's going on in Southern California right now with the methane gas coming up. Okay, you know about that, right?
Yeah. So
No. This is the free market.
Okay. Well, don't interrupt me. This is my
Okay,
show.
okay.
So if you're talking about the free market in terms of like healthcare, well, why don't you think about it perhaps like a butcher, for example? I mean, a butcher is a very greedy guy. He wants to make money, but what he does is he's providing a service, a necessary service to people. Doesn't he deserve to make a profit for providing people with food?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why would we ever want to denigrate profits, or why would we want him to not have a free market? He doesn't have to care about everyone in his town. He doesn't do it for people in his town. He's doing it for his own profit.
Because it's not working. And here's how it's not working. Is TPP, how do you feel about TPP?
Well, that's international trade, but
Well, no, but that affects us because now we are multinational conglomerates. You go and you look at like all these major corporations. What are they doing? They're shipping jobs overseas. Like talk about free trade. Free trade, that means that an American worker has to compete with a child slave labor in, Malaysia someplace.
Right.
Okay. So that's.
This is why Bernie Sanders opposes like the immigration. He's kind of like on the Donald Trump train with immigration.
Well,
no. To prohibit immigration.
No. We'll get to immigration in a second and stay on free trade here. So with free trade, that's the challenge. If you go down, and that's why I'm not saying that like socialism at its end point is the A-all B-all, because I know what can happen with that. But
the AK-47.
Yeah, but on the other side, what you have are kids locked up doing slave labor work, earning like dimes to what American workers will work, and that's the end game of libertarianism. Now, in free market, I don't believe that we have to pick one or the other. It's not dualist. It could be relativist. It could be, hey, let's take some aspects of this, let's take some aspects of that. And I think that getting along with, like libertarians, let's reinstate the tariffs. I'm all for a free market as long as we're not increasing. And that's what I mean about like, telling people what to do. It's not like you need to sit here. It's more so like if you're going to take your jobs and you're going to send your jobs overseas and we're going to put those someplace else, okay? It costs us American workers. It costs society because Walmart is not building, reinforcing, I-40, doing all the improvements on I-40, companies are not going through and repairing our infrastructure unless they're getting paid. They're not doing it out of their pockets.
You don't think that Walmart, for example, or anyone who owns a company would have any incentive to build a road to their store so customers get to market? There's no incentive.
Are they doing it? If they're doing it,
there are examples, but I mean,
okay.
why would they do
I would
it
love
when the
to
government?
see it because
why would the government do it when the
Okay,
when the
well,
government
two things
doesn't?
about Walmart. First, I'm a shareholder, so actually, yeah, it's been good. I'm not happy with some of their practices, but I am a shareholder, and so
Walmart shareholder. Hey guys,
yeah,
we're back.
A little bit. So that's why I mean the mix. It's like I believe in going back to talking more about like I'm sorry guys, but being more about like socialism and getting back to your example with doctors. So I worked in higher education.
Okay, hold on. You jump around a lot of subjects because you were talking about the roads, and my audience, they hate roads. Libertarians
hate roads. No roads to any compounds. Okay.
But we really hate roads because the problem with socialists is they always say, well, who would build the roads?
Okay.
And there was actually a case of a man in India who his wife was sick and she couldn't get to the doctor. So he actually cut a mountain path himself to get around through the mountain so he could get to a doctor because he had an incentive. If corporations didn't have the governments building the roads, don't you think they would have an incentive to build roads so that they could bring customers to their market?
Amazon could deliver with drones now.
Right. But that's capitalism, right?
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm not anti-capitalism. I believe in a relativistic approach. And that's one of the problems I feel with a lot of libertarians is that like socialism is such an evil word that you just got to flush it out. And no, you don't have to. There are certain things that like tariffs, to protect the workers locally is kind of a socialist concept to protect our own. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing.
I appreciate your
pleasure,
time.
No problem.
Thank you very much. I'm going to grab the microphone.
You want to talk about education? Oh, that's my wheelhouse.
I do, but I gotta do it.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you
Happy
for your
New
time.
Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for doing battle. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost midnight. Don't forget, it's the deadline. Send it at least $3 to AustinPetersen2016.com. I'm running for president of the United States. These Bernie Sanders supporters are pretty smart. So what are you going to do? You got to talk to them about the issues they care about, and hopefully they're going to vote for me instead of Bernie. But if Bernie wins, who knows? Anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, it's New Year's. I hope you guys are having a great time. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because, you know what? The connection's not super strong. You may not even be able to see me right now. Thanks very much. Please join my campaign to take over the government and leave everyone alone. AustinPetersen2016.com. Happy New Year.